Ohio State slammed the door on the Bobcats, rattling off 24 unanswered points to secure a 37-9 win.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to Locked On Buckeyes Live after Ohio State's 37-9 win over the Ohio Bobcats in the final non-conference game of 2025. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, veteran sports talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes. And this episode is brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. Mazda, move and be moved. During this episode of Locked On Buckeyes Live, we will discuss one player that I believe needs to play a whole lot more, as well as one thing that made tonight clunky. But first, Ohio State knew this was the final game before an off week. They knew this was the final non-conference game, and so the Buckeyes may have gone into this game with a different mindset and not trying to impose their will and to showcase why they are the number one team in the country. But Ohio State knew after what happened in the first half, which wasn't great, it wasn't phenomenal. I left a lot of people wondering why the Buckeyes are playing the way that they were. Ohio State came out in the second half and quickly started putting points on the board, rattling off the final 24 points in this game, and Ohio State secured a 37-9 win over the Ohio Bobcats. And this is a MAC school. And when a MAC school comes to town, you know that they're no match for Ohio State. But the defense played phenomenal all night. I know they gave up that touchdown, a long touchdown pass. To me, it was a technique thing with Lorenzo Styles Jr., where he jumped when trying to go through the receiver's hands. He jumped. He didn't stay on his feet and literally run through the hands. Bad technique. He couldn't keep up with them. That guy scored. But outside of that, Ohio's offense really couldn't get anything going all night long. And it wasn't one of the defense's best performances of the year, but the Buckeyes defense did what they were supposed to do. While the offense struggled early, they finished strong. And to me, with Ryan Day and how the team's going to handle going into the off week next week and trying to figure out how they can learn from this game and make sure this performance doesn't happen again, you can focus on the ending and say, we got to do that for 4 quarters. Because let's keep this in context. This is the first time in a couple weeks Ohio State starters have played 4 quarters. They only did it one time. And so maybe physically and mentally, they just literally weren't there. It's also the first night game, and you know how that goes, and you're used to waking up a little bit earlier to get and play a game. All of a sudden now you're waking up at your normal time, but the kickoff is 3 or 4 hours later than normal, and your whole body is a little bit different. Okay, those are reality. But those can't be excuses. Those can't be the reason why you play the way that you play. You must go out there and do everything you can to win this game, and that's what Ohio State did. I'm not really pleased with a lot of the energy and effort. We'll dive into that later on in the show. One thing I am pleased with, while there were some questionable play calls, we'll talk about those too, you find out that Ohio State, after the Bobcats score in the third quarter, within the first minute of the third quarter, Parker Navarro hit Hendricks for a 67-yard touchdown pass. After that, Ohio State took control. Fielding hit a 22-yard field goal. Sayin hit Jeremiah Smith for 47 yards. Sayin hit Carnell Tate for 49 yards. That was a beautiful pass. And then Jeremiah Smith ran one in from 17 yards out to put the Buckeyes up 37-9. You want a team, no matter if it's the number one team in the country or a team that's unranked, to finish strong. And maybe your finish strong is you have a solid defensive performance in the fourth quarter and you score 10 points while you hold your opponent to 0, and that's how you win. You finish strong that way. Or maybe you finish strong doing what Ohio State did by scoring 24 unanswered points. That's nothing to laugh at or to gloss over, because Ohio State could have come out in the second half after a very clunky and abnormal first half and said, we have no game next week. We don't have to go all out. We don't have to do the things that are going to make us better. We don't have to put our best foot forward. But they did. They got better. Yes, there were some penalties in the first half. They didn't happen in the second half. And you're seeing this team right now grow while they're having a quarterback that is starting his 3rd career game at quarterback. Sayin is phenomenal. Sayin has done a lot of really good things. There were a lot of coachable moments in this game. But when you put it in context and realize Sayin is starting for the very first time, and he had another 300-yard game once again, that's nothing to just say, oh, well, yeah, he threw 2 interceptions, but he is really, really good. I said it earlier this week with my guy Corey Thompson when he was on the show for the first time this year. I'll say it again. Julian Sayin is playing better than advertised. He finished his game 25 of 32, 347 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 10.8 yards per completion, and 2 interceptions in his 3rd career start. And those interceptions are avoidable. Those weren't things where it's like, oh, he threw the ball, it hit his receiver's hand, and it was a tip drill. Next thing you know, the safety catches the ball and interception. No. Those 2 interceptions, from the one where he was popped to the tip drill, those things were avoidable. And maybe in both situations, you just don't throw the ball. And guess what? You live to fight another day. What we're seeing right now from Ohio State, this is a game. You hold an opponent to single digits. No team that Ohio State has played this year has scored more than 9 points. Everyone's been 9 points or less. That's huge. That's a great accomplishment. The offense is figuring things out. You got to see different looks right now. Ian Moore was the first guy off the bench when Phillip Daniels went to the sideline to get his helmet looked at. Ian Moore goes on the field. Now, I don't think Ian Moore is your 6th offensive lineman. That is still going to Ethan Onyanwa. But if Ian Moore is needed to play a little bit more now, he is comfortable with that. Now, it was only out there for, I believe, 1 play. But I think you're going to find that there's depth with this team. There are ways for them to get more experience and to be more successful. This was very much an experimental game, and I don't think they should have been experimenting in the ways that they were because, to be honest with you, it was very frustrating to watch at times. I was in my head while watching the game, thinking about this show and thinking about how I'm going to come on here to talk about what Ohio State did, knowing that I want to be positive. There are things that really had me puzzled, but also I don't want to just leave people with, oh, this is a negative game. Ohio State won 37-9. That is a positive thing. They scored 24 unanswered points. Ohio State, once again, held an opponent to really poor passing. Both Parker Navarro and Nick Poulis, the 2 quarterbacks that Ohio played, they combined for 10 for 21 and 113 yards. That's nothing to laugh at. They did a great job. They only had 1 touchdown between the 2 of them. That was Navarro early in the early part of the second half, and that was it. And then they held Ohio to under 70 rushing yards. They had 68 rushing yards and 2 yards a pop. That's another thing with this defense, where the defense had played lights out, and they were on the field quite a bit. So I can understand some of the poor technique when you're out there for a little bit longer than normal. It's not an excuse, but I can understand it. I can also understand that Ohio State is going into the off week undefeated. They beat Texas. They beat Grambling. They just finished strong against the Ohio Bobcats. Hats off to Ohio State. You did what you're supposed to do. You go into every game and you prepare and you play to win. That's what you did. It wasn't the best game, but Ohio State definitely found a way to win tonight. They also found a way to get Julian Sayin out of a slump, because while his numbers weren't the worst, there were moments during this game where I'm thinking, Julian, what are you doing? But in the second half, I said, Julian, you're making them big boy throws. This episode is brought to you by Mazda. Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. And this week's moment that moved the game forward is, once again, it's my guy, Bo Jackson. He's a true freshman running back with over 100 rushing yards once again. And I think Bo Jackson showed tonight why he needs to play a whole lot more than he has been. It's also something we're going to talk about later in this show. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Thank you all for tapping in Locked on Buckeyes live right here after Ohio State's 37-9 win over the Ohio Bobcats. Right now, if you're watching this live, maybe in the playback format on the YouTube, Let me know what your thoughts are about Ohio State's win tonight. The 37-9 win over the Ohio Bobcats. Ohio State is 3-0. They are still going to be the number one team in the country. If they say that they are not, there are going to be things we'll say here on the show. But I do believe that Ohio State did a lot of good things this evening. And a lot of it has to go with their quarterback. Only had 7 incompletions. 2 of those were interceptions. Those were things that were coachable, and he can learn from those things. So while his numbers are pretty good and the 200 INTs aren't great, those are also coachable moments. But early in the game, it's not just a saying thing. This was an offense thing. I was trying to figure out why the offense wasn't flowing. Why the offense acted like they didn't care. That they were disinterested in playing the football. Now, I know they weren't disinterested in playing the football because they're playing the football. But while they're playing the football, my mind and my eyes looked at their body language and they told me they were disinterested in playing the football because there's absolutely no reason why Ohio State on the 2-yard line should be kicking a field goal. No reason at all. No. You got literally, you go 2 yards, you're in the end zone, touchdown. On 4th and goal on their 2, you're calling for a field goal? Is it fear that maybe you won't be able to get in? Is it, well, we need to get our guy on the field to kick the ball? I can understand that, but I also understand you are the Ohio State University. You have guys that are way better than what's on the other side of the line. What are you afraid of? What are you scared of? Because in this moment, right now on this show, I am remembering how I felt while I was watching that game, and I'm sitting here still thinking, you got Donaldson, who is really coming into his own in Ohio State's offense. You have Bo Jackson, who I don't think had played at the point of this field goal that was kicked, but you got Bo Jackson who could do that. You got a quarterback. You bring in Lincoln Canholz off the bench. Do you think now maybe it's a situation where they know he is your running quarterback? That's cool, but you can still do a QB sneak from 2 yards out and get it. Now, I don't think that's normally in Ohio State's bag, but if you need to, you can. Kicking from the 2-yard line? Come on now. Plus, if you don't get it, do you think your defense will stop them from going 98 yards or 99 yards to score? You should. You absolutely should. But for some reason, they were coaching scared. They were being a little timid, being a little shy. I don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. And was saying, I was trying to chart some things earlier in the game. Didn't chart the entire game, at least this part. The incompletions, aside from the interceptions, those were avoidable too. Some of them, one incompletion was to Carnell Tate. That was on the left side of the end zone. Would have been a touchdown. That was just great defense. I mean, that's one of those things where you got your guy. It's a good ball, but there was better defense, and the corner broke it up. Also, hats off to Ohio. Their corners played better than I thought they were going to play. I know they had good players and they were solid. Like, they're not at Ohio and just be a scrub, but they're really, really, really good guys. And so I knew it was going to be a battle a little bit with the secondary, but I was more impressed with how well they were. The technique was how they didn't shy away from the moment, and even playing in a stadium with 100,000 people inside of it. A couple passes to Jeremiah Smith. One was a bad decision. Another was, I believe, was broken up. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Regardless of the result of that play, those things could rattle a young quarterback. Those things could have caused Julian Sayin to get in his own head and to not stay even and stay poised throughout the game. But he did. Because Julian Sayin figured it out. Because in the first half, and honestly, part of it may have been the running back situation, because early in the game, it was very, very clear that Peoples and Donaldson weren't really getting it. Now, they did flourish, and they just did some pretty good things. Don't get me wrong, but it was pretty clear that if you have Peoples in the game or Donaldson, that at times the offense wasn't running the ball like you'd want an Ohio State offense to run the ball. It just wasn't happening. Then in comes Bo Jackson, and Bo Jackson had his 9 carries, 109 rushing yards. Didn't score a touchdown this week, but he did average 12.1 yards a pop. Had that phenomenal, my goodness, eye-popping 64-yard run today. And Oh, man. While Peoples and Donaldson weren't really getting it done, I left this game not only realizing Sayin figured it out and then being happier for him, I'm also realizing that y'all just got to keep feeding Bo. Feed Bo, feed Bo, feed Bo. Quentin Nelson, former Notre Dame offensive lineman, now with the Indianapolis Colts, famously wears a hat. I'm not going to say every single word on this show for obvious reasons, but it says run the ball. You can fill in the blank there. Run the ball. Why? Because running the ball wins, especially when you have Jonathan Taylor behind you, behind the quarterback, and you give the ball to him, and he just scoots and gets first down here, first down there, and it just makes too much sense. You know, one thing that I said in the offseason that still is true now, will be true for the rest of time, that a quarterback's best friend, well, there's a couple things, but one's a tight end, but another one's a solid running game. And I think the best way for Ohio State to get a solid running game, and this is going to be a conversation we're going to have later on throughout the off week, is getting the ball to the running backs and letting them create traction and to throw the defense off. And to me, right now, while Sayin figured it out, part of it happened while Bo Jackson was toting the rock. Because for him to only have 9 carries and end the game with 109 rushing yards, yes, I know he had a big chunk play, but he had more than just that play. Bo Jackson, it's early, so I'm not going to be hyperbolic and make a big boy statement, but at the end of the day, he might be the more all-around running back at the end of the day when comparing him to Peoples and Donaldson. Donaldson is good. I don't think he's going to be better than Bo Jackson. And I think Peoples is still figuring things out. I know he's not a finished product, but I'm not sure if he's fully comfortable yet as far as gap scheme versus run scheme with the double teams or with the pulling guards. Counter works for this team. It doesn't matter which running back is there, Peoples, Donaldson, or Jackson. The counter play works, and they have different variations of HB counter, and I love every one of them. Absolutely love it. I also love knowing that Carlos Lachlan continues to push and get great guys, not only on the recruiting trail in high school, but also on the recruiting trail in college. Because the fact that Ohio State right now, after losing Quinshon Judkins, Trevion Henderson, and you come in, you get a transfer from West Virginia, and you get a guy off the high school level in Bo Jackson, and Lachlan's able to get both guys, you can't complain. Literally, one guy, I believe, is going to be here for 1 year. He's going to be great for the team this year. And Bo Jackson, at the end of the day, man, it's going to be so much fun to watch, y'all. So much fun. Jeremiah Smith, I really didn't touch on him yet, and I don't know why, because that young man did what Jeremiah Smith does, which is get open and cut and catch touchdowns. He did have 9 catches for 153 yards and 1 touchdown. Can't forget about Carnell Tate. He had 5 for one-on-one and a touchdown as well. Jeremiah Smith also had a rushing touchdown. He had the lone rushing touchdown for Ohio State today. It was 1 carry for 17 yards, and I don't have an answer for how to stop him. Jeremiah Smith, that is. You can try to get a little bit more physical, but I think he's figuring out how to bounce back and how to handle more physical defensive backs. And if he figures that out and he finds a counter for it and it works consistently over and over and over, y'all better watch out. I'm a big Jeremiah Smith fan. Bigger Carnell Tate fan than I was before the season, because Carnell Tate, to me, is a guy that really can't do any wrong. If you want to run a deep ball or just run a longer pass route, he's your man. If you want to run something short to intermediate with some movement to it, he's your man. Oh, you want to run his way and have him be a lead blocker? He can knock that out too. To me, Carnell Tate is becoming more of a total package right now than I thought he would be at this point of the year. His blocking was great. His route running was great. But for him to really find nuances and to consistently just be that even-leveled guy all game long, man, it's just fun to watch it. The Buckeyes won 37-9. They scored 24 unanswered points, and it was a clunky game. It didn't sit well with all of us for most of the game, which leads to my final thought. And there was one thing missing from Ohio State throughout the evening. This episode is brought to you by DoorDash. Guys, it's the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order, these players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. For Ohio State, Caden Curry delivered in a big way. Oh boy, from Center Grove High School once again, got in the backfield. He was a disruptor. He batted a ball down. I believe that was on third down. And him having that Energizer Bunny type of motor, it's one thing that Ohio State needs with this team. And he keeps playing better and better and better week after week after week. When the pressure was on, Caden Curry came through. No hesitation, no delay. And if you've been watching week after week, you know this performance wasn't a fluke. Caden Curry is on a streak. And just like Caden Curry delivered for Ohio State, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order, stack it up all season, and you could save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Promo period through November 18th. Thank you all for tapping in Locked on Buckeyes live after Ohio State's 37-9 win over the Ohio Bobcats. And there are going to be people right now, maybe they didn't watch the game and they just see the final score, or maybe on a Sunday morning or a Monday morning, they look back and look at some of the scores of the teams in the top 25 and they see, okay, Ohio State beat Ohio 37-9. They held the team to single digits. You would assume that they only gave up one touchdown. And okay, cool. Ohio State scored 35 plus. They're sitting in pretty good. But those of us that are people that love Ohio State football, I mean, we wake up, think Buckeyes. We are on a lunch break, we think Buckeyes. Oh, that snack in the afternoon, we think Buckeyes. At the gym, it's Ohio State. When we're taking a walk with our family, it's the Buckeyes. That's us. That is who we are. And so we think the same. We got the same kind of mindset. And when we watch this game, yeah, it's a great win. Yeah, it was a strong finish. But the overall problem with this game to me was that these boys didn't come with the juice. I tweeted out. I didn't tweet as much this game as I normally do, but I tweeted out. That was one of the weirdest halves, the first half that is, of Buckeye football I have seen in a very long time. And the players didn't have any juice. I was pointing the finger at the offense. Because at the break, Ohio State had 278 yards of offense. Ohio only had 28. So even if I wanted to point fingers at the defense and say, y'all, the problem, if you hold any team to 28 points for a half, you clap it up, go into the locker room, just say, keep doing what you're doing, and that's the end of the conversation. That's it. But for Ohio State to have 278 yards of total offense in the first half, and I believe the first half score was pretty poor and pretty embarrassing. It was 13-3 at the end of the first half. And the Buckeyes got to the red zone multiple times, and they didn't punch it in. They didn't score touchdowns. Now, granted, you may say, Jay, didn't you just highlight some good defense by Ohio? Yes, 100%. But part of the problem was they didn't trust Donaldson and Peoples to get the job done, which goes into something that I said earlier. Put Poe Jackson in the game more than he has been. 9 carries, 100 and something yards. Don't have the numbers. 109 yards, 12.1 yards a pop. Now imagine what's going to happen when you give him 15 carries or 18 carries. I know you don't want to ruffle anybody's feathers, and I know you don't want to make anybody mad, and I know you recruited these guys to play him, and maybe you made some promises, but if their play doesn't stack up to the promises that are made, come on now. Put the old boy in. He's too good. And this ain't all about him being from Cleveland and the Buckeye show trying to ride with an Ohio kid. No, this ain't nothing about that. My eyeballs have told me that he is the guy that through the first 3 weeks has ran the ball the best. That's it. My eyeballs tell me his first step is different. His burst to the line is different. He's a little bit quicker. His vision is consistently better. And for Ohio State's offense to have 278 total yards of offense in the first half and to only have 13 points. And in that stretch, there was a 22-yard field goal that was kicked and made by Jaden Fielding, and there was a 20-yard field goal. One, they kicked the field goal when they were on the 2-yard line. Another one, they kicked the field goal and they were on the 4-yard line. First off, I think I said it earlier. I'll say it again. Maybe first, second, third, don't really matter. It's quite embarrassing Ohio State couldn't punch it at that time. actually really embarrassing. It's not even so much like who you're playing. It's the fact that you are the Ohio State University. And I heard some things that Ryan Day said during the school session, and I heard Carnell Tate, some of the things that he said during the school session. Why wasn't that a part of something that the offense bought into? Why? Because you saw Max School on their jersey? We literally talked about this on Friday's show. I did a pregame video, a Locked on Buckeyes pregame short video because I wanted to, in that I talked about Ohio State not playing down to their opponent. Why? Because it's so easy to play down to your opponent. I don't care if you're in college or maybe you played in high school or maybe in the pros. It don't matter. It is so easy, sometimes natural, to play down to your opponent. And today, Ohio State did just that. I believe my memory is working correctly in that Ohio Bobcats in 2025 are the first MAC school to score this game, I believe, is the first time Ohio State has scored less than 50 points to a MAC school since Ryan Day's been the head coach. That's embarrassing. Y'all, that's embarrassing. If I am Ryan Day during the film session, we gonna be talking about a lot. And I know you're not gonna try and run them boys to ragged, but y'all gotta figure something out. Because Ohio State on third down, 5 for 9. Okay, you're okay. It's not good enough though. Should be 7 or 9. You had 572 total yards of offense. You basically doubled your total yardage in the second half from what you had in the first half, and you only scored 37 points. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. You can't. You can't make it make sense because it doesn't. You hold your opponent to 181 yards of total offense. Great. You can't say anything about the defense. And even at times, the defense didn't have any juice. There was a third down play, and the angle on the TV was from behind the Buckeyes defense. And there was a time, now on the YouTube, you can't really tell. My hands are a little bit too wide. But there was a time, it seemed like Sonny Styles was trying to pump up the crowd. And while doing it, he wasn't to know, way up, get up. No, it was, and you're watching the YouTube right now. You see how my hands are moving a little bit slower versus when he's in full Texas mode. He's get up. And trust me, in that moment, while he wasn't a big problem, the defense really wasn't a problem at all today, outside of that one long play, the defense did their job. And there was another play where I saw Lorenzo Styles Jr. end up making another play with bad technique. The first one, he didn't run through. He tried to jump through the receiver's hands, and he couldn't catch up to him, and it was a touchdown. Another one, I think he took a poor angle and ended up being out of position. It wasn't really a long game, but I'm thinking, this is just technique stuff. And that can be coachable, but you can be coached up to work on your technique, but will you fix it? One thing that has to happen. It's just there really is no discussion. It's not up for a debate. Ohio State must bring the juice. Because to me, this game, heading into an off week, I'm not comfortable if I'm Ryan Day. I'm not pleased with what I saw. And nor am I going to allow this to continue. Ohio State absolutely must bring the juice against Washington. Because while it is a Big Ten team that's not expected to be in the Big Ten title race or to be a playoff contender, Washington has dudes. And that's a tough environment to play. And if I had my guess, and I have not looked at this schedule in a while, but if I had my guess, that game against Ohio is either a 3:30 p.m. Eastern time kickoff, 12:30 local there in Seattle, or a kickoff at 7:30, or maybe even 8. Probably more 7:30 on NBC. I don't see Fox picking this up or FS1 picking this up and putting it at 8 o'clock Eastern or 4 o'clock Eastern. I don't see that. I see this being either a CBS game or an NBC game. And if it's a night game, oh, man. Them Husky fans are going to be wild, which adds to why Ohio State must bring the juice the next time they're on the field. This is a great win. I mean, a win's a win. I'm not really laughing or scoffing at the win. It's great. You win 37-9. You score 24 unanswered. There's a lot to be happy about. There's a lot to be thankful for heading into the off week. But the performance wasn't good enough. There's absolutely no reason why Ohio State didn't score over 50 points during this game. And even the one touchdown they gave up, Yo, that was avoidable. If it was better technique and if you ran through the hands instead of trying to jump through the hands, it's possible that's a completion right there in midfield, or it's possible that it's an incompletion and Ohio State's defense is looking at this game and looking at this outcome completely different than they currently are. I'm done being negative, y'all. I hate being negative. I really do. I love what we got to see today. Anytime Ohio State plays, it's a good day. It's also a good day because the Buckeyes, y'all, they 3-0. And what's the best thing about being 3-0? A chance to go 4-0. Thank y'all for tapping Locked on Buckeyes live and making this a part of your college football Saturday. To continue the conversation about the college football Saturday, make sure you tap into Locked on College Football because Spencer McLaughlin is a man to go to recap a wild college football Saturday and to get you ready to look ahead for what's to come in the upcoming week. You can follow Locked on College Football and Locked on Buckeyes right there on the YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on any social media platform or jstevens07. Send to every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. This has been Locked on Buckeyes live after Ohio State's 37-9 win over the Ohio Bobcats.